The Resistance Connundrum. What is this thing that I've coined and why is it going to be helpful when it comes to your nutrition and your health journey? Well, I'm glad you asked. Well, at least I hope you asked, because today I'm going to share with you exactly what I mean by the Resistant Conundrum and why it's something you want to look out for when it comes to your nutrition efforts and the nutrition game itself. Because honestly, understanding this piece of the puzzle, understanding this conundrum, so to speak, will enable yourself to be a little bit more strategic and a little bit more nuanced in the way that you approach your food and your lifestyle. So without further ado, let's go. Hi, I'm Alex, a sports dietitian and nutritionist. Welcome to my channel. Great to have you here. So have you ever noticed that when you avoid something, when you're trying to resist something, you tend to want it more? When you eliminate something from your day-to-day or from your lifestyle, from your diet, you notice that you just start thinking about it more or craving it a bit more?
I don't need it. I don't need it. I don't need it. I need it!
If so, you are not alone. And that forms the basis of today's topic, which is what I call the Resistance Connundrum. Something that you've got to understand when it comes to your food game, because a lot of people get stuck allowing this conundrum to occur, and it doesn't always break your efforts, but it sure does make nutrition a lot harder. So by now you're definitely wondering, what am I talking about? What is the Resistance Conundrum? What on earth are you babbling on about, Alexa? Well, let's go. Let class commence now. So the Resistance Conundrum is what you eliminate, you let dominate. Specifically to the diet, to the food game, what you eliminate completely, so the foods you completely avoid or deem bad or deem that you can't have because you're clean eating or some other kind of BS out there, you tend to let dominate. Specifically dominate your mindset. And because of that, you start craving it more, thinking about it more, it becomes harder to actually avoid. Which in turn obviously can do things like create a bad connection to food, like a poor, as people would call a poor relationship with food, or it will cause things like where you feel guilty about things or things like that. But also from a bigger picture perspective, it can also cause things like, well, falling off the diet, okay, falling off the nutrition plan, because eventually you won't just crave a little bit of it, you'll end up having, instead of having a little bit of chocolate, you'll have the whole family-sized block. And that will derail your efforts, for example, if you're in a fat loss phase. And rest assured, this conundrum is predominantly found in the fat loss phase because that is the type of goal that tends to be connected with restriction, because you're obviously having to restrict calories. And therefore you restrict certain foods that are very high calorie or that are deemed bad. Typically your kind of fun foods, or as people would call them, the junk foods. And now I'm not sitting here as a dietitian and saying, oh, you have to have these foods, a healthy diet is about having junk foods in the plan. It's just about a human, flexible, balanced approach.
No shit.
The reality is that you will crave some of these things, and that is okay, because results aren't built with perfection, results are built with strategy. And strategy, or at least smart strategy, allows for nuances, and nuances is where flexibility comes into play. Flexibility such as, being able to lose weight but still enjoy your favorite little treat. That's the kind of stuff we're talking about. So you got to understand the Resistance Conundrum really is there because I'm trying to illustrate the point that you do not have to be perfect with your diet. You don't have to avoid all these foods that you deem unhealthy just because they're not as nutritious or just because they are very calorically dense, because they can still form a part of your strategy if you do it correctly. So the Resistance Conundrum, what you eliminate, you let dominate. Well, you don't want that, because it's good and all to have a flexible, nuanced approach when it comes to these foods. But once you start letting it dominate, that's when things become a little bit more skewed. And that's where the negative outcomes can truly occur. And this may get some hate. This may get people going, are you serious? Are you seriously saying this, right? You're saying that it's not good to avoid all these things, But look, I'm talking here from experience, bridging it on with a little bit of science throughout, just to let you understand that the reality is, for you to succeed long term, you have to have a sustainable approach to your nutrition. And a sustainable approach for the vast majority of people is about flexible nutrition. And flexible nutrition is nuanced. And to have nuance, well, you can't have complete resistance. You can't have elimination of a thing that you know that you will want. Because as I said, you will let it, what is it? Dominate. Okay, so that's why you want to avoid the resistance conundrum by not complete elimination, because you don't want complete domination. You want to have something that is a lot more balanced and, as I like to say, strategic or structured flexibility. So there you go. That's what the resistance conundrum is. I hope it kind of opens your eyes to the idea that it's not just about just sheer elimination of certain foods. There is obviously a time and place for that. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes with clients, we do avoid certain foods completely in that strategic way. But just a general kind of dieting world belief about, oh, I'm on a diet now and I need to lose weight, so I need to avoid this, this, and this, and this, just indefinitely. That's just throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping it sticks and creating a mess while you're at it. Now, what I want you to do is comment below, okay? Comment below and let me know how are you going with your journey right now? Are you finding it actually pretty much on cruise control, or are you finding that it is a bit of a struggle city? It's a bit of a kind of grind. Let me know in the comments below. And as always, hit the like button. Okay, hit the like button if this video has been helpful. If it shared something new for you, some new way of thinking, then show it some love. Hit the like button. And of course, as always, stay classy. Have a good one. See you later. Bye-bye.